Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the live stream. My name is Matt Bailey. I'm the National Ambassador here for the Scotch Malt Whisky Society in Australia. Really exciting to be doing this live stream tonight with you, talking about two of the releases from tomorrow's Outturn, which is really exciting. I love that. I love the fact that I'm able to even taste these. It's a real privilege. I love that you want to come along with this journey with the society. And every time we talk about great whiskey, which is always lots of fun. And if I'm able to actually bring something to you for this, bring something along, come along for the ride, as they say, and discover a few things along the way, then we can all learn some great stuff about whiskey and enjoy the journey. It's, you know what, I talked a few weeks back about generosity and gratitude, and I've just got to echo something I said earlier. By the way, hello to James Caden. Bring on the Wombles, he says. And a big hi from Jay Davis. Thank you, Jay Davis. That's always appreciated. I'm talking about two of the whiskeys tonight, but I just want to touch on that point about gratitude and appreciation. There's been just seeing the whiskey community, especially the whiskey community of the SMWS, come together over what is, quite simply interesting times, trying times for many people. And the fact that we can come together, enjoy great whiskey, discuss great things, and come along that journey, and even do a live stream here and there like I'm doing tonight, is always really appreciated. So without much further ado, greetings, Darren Howie, good to see you. Going live tonight to the Society Facebook stream, going live to our group, going live to our page, and going live to YouTube. No matter where you're watching, drop a comment below like Darren's just done there, and I might throw it up on screen unless I don't want to. Okay, you know what? I'm going to show you a couple of whiskeys. We're going to talk about a couple. I'm going to start with 37.129, a very big house in the country. A 16-year-old deep, rich, and dried fruits release, which is being released formally tomorrow in Outturn. You'll notice in Outturn, it says there's 24 bottles, I think, of this one on the web available tomorrow. It's going to be less than that. I'm holding one right here, which is one of the leftovers from one of our events. And with this, I'm able to actually preview it. So we did feature it at Canberra, and we featured it at Brisbane. So Canberra's all gone, but there's a little bit drop left here from Brisbane. I'm going to pour a bit of the glass here and tell you a little bit about this whiskey. That looks fun. Look at the color on that one. So deep, rich, and dried fruits. Let's examine. It's one of our 12 flavor profiles. We have everything from young and sprightly, light and delicate, oily and coastal, sweet, fruity, and mellow, etc., all the way up to lightly peated, heavily peated, old and dignified, etc. You've seen these flavor profiles a number of times. I don't have a slide to bring up for you tonight. I'm sorry. But what we do have is a deep, rich, and dried fruits here from Distillery 37. This distillery is one of the classic Speyside distilleries. It doesn't get nearly enough attention. It's a distillery that runs a very lightly peated malt, generally most of the time, long fermentations, and is like I say, it's one of the benchmark distilleries of Speyside. I'm just referring to my notes here. I don't want to get anything wrong here, but it was actually one of the Diageo classic malts. Now, there is also some very cool society history. The Diageo classic malts range came out in 1988. The first society single cask strength single malt whiskey of Distillery 37 was in 1987. Isn't that very cool? So we actually bottled this as a single malt before the distillery did. Think about that for a second. G'day, Mall Santa, smashing into a G4.14 for a knockoff tonight. I know who said that, even though I can't see your name. G'day back, yes. First French Oak I've seen will definitely be grabbing one of those. Rowan, you're going to have to be quick on the trigger on these. They will be quick tomorrow. So this is 37.129. That's a lovely nose. Now, the name on it is a very big house in the country. On the label, it says polished mahogany and Chesterfields, cherry blossom, dried flowers, Tiffin, prune, and Zinfandel rosé, previously in ex-bourbon hogshead. Then I had 1 year in a second fill hogshead French oak. Now, Outton's at 36, not 24. Thank you, James. You're on top of this. I'm not. Potentially my favorite Speyside distillery. Very big call. And there are some great distilleries across Speyside. In fact, Andrew highlighted some of them just a few weeks back for his grand tour of Speyside. Great evening discussing the region, what to do there, and what to expect of Speyside whiskies in many ways. And we tasted through, I think, 6 different Speyside whiskies that night. It was fantastic. This one, however, 37.129 is a very big customer country. Now, I'll be completely upfront and honest with you. I often find things like 15 plus 1 in this case, 15 years in ex-bourbon, 1 year in French oak. I'm often might think, imagine if it was 16 years in French oak. I think it would have destroyed it. In this case, it's actually balanced really nicely. I get instantly a meaty, gamey note. I get that lovely, like crispy hoisin duck, vintage potpourri on the nose. And I love that in a deep, rich, and dried fruits profile. It's still got a certain lightness to it. It's still got a certain sort of textural quality to it straight away, which is just lovely. It's like silk on the palate. It's very rich. Baked spices and old rosé. Lovely. So it's strange stills, long ferments, worm tubs. It's a very traditional distillery in many ways. And in this case, that extra just brief year in French oak has done some marvelous stuff to this spirit. So just I want to talk about what this is. Like I said, we're just having a bit of a chat tonight about what this is, what it looks like, how it performs in the glass. What are the other stats here? It's 16 years of age. So distilled 2002. It almost passes almost a 17-year-old actually. It was about a year and a bit, I think, in the French oak. Almost would have been a 17 on the label, but it's a 16 in this case. And we're looking at aromas of it even says in the tasting notes, polished mahogany, Chesterfields, cherry blossom, dried flowers. The palate does have a bit of like pink peppercorn, a bit of sort of pink peppercorn notes and dark chocolate. That's lovely. So let's have a look what some of the comments coming in here are. James says, Ospost were too slow, so I am enjoying this 37 via osmosis. If you've already jumped on one, James, then all the power to you. Or if you're going to tomorrow. So tomorrow is Outturn. So happy night before Outturn to you all. Really looking forward to what happens on tomorrow's Outturn, seeing what will be popular and what might not be. We'll see what's going on there. The funny thing is, as we've said before, as I've touched on before in different live streams, there's a certain I'll put that there, maybe you can see it. There's a certain excitement, especially over some of the deep, rich, and dried fruits often, and some of the heavily peated. And we've got a couple of 53s at the back of the Outturn, which is very exciting. So, we see all sorts of different sort of things in here, including, of course, celebrating 10 years, the Whiskey and Almond special bottling this month. It's a really exciting issue this month, and we've seen a great amount of discussion online about some of the lovely stuff coming in here. However, I mean, there's 2 different 53s on offer. How cool is that? And they're both refill bourbon hoggies, but they're both very different casks, being single cask. But the best way to approach it is to start with the contents page, start with flavor profile. As I was about to say, we often get people get a bit sort of wrapped up in superstar distilleries, and they get wrapped up in certain codes. And I think we all just every month sometimes just need to take a step back and go, which ones are the underdogs? Which ones in here are the ones that people won't pay much attention to because they're not sexy codes or not sexy flavor profiles? I think all the flavor profiles have their own merits. I was only just talking about a 128.9, I think the code is, the electrochemistry release. That was a 9-year-old or an 11-year-old. I can't remember, sorry. No, I think it was a 9-year-old, light and delicate. Yet it was mechanical, oily, crazy spirit. But it was light and delicate. I'll give it that. So often people look at codes and they go, they're looking for 1s or 33s or 53s or whatever the code is that has a notoriety about it almost. And it's, yeah, 53s, exactly. So, I mean, we look at these codes and we go, like, you got to hunt them out. Got to really wait for those to come along. I think that's a bit unfair. Everything we release, everything that goes in Outturn has been rigorously gone through an expert tasting panel to be selected to be bottled by the society. B, has been selected by our cellar master, Andrew, to be something that he would fit Australia. It was going to be great. We're going to love having it on Outturn. It's going to be popular. It's going to be tasty. He picks off tasting note on flavor as well. And then 3 is going to be exciting, especially even if there is or there isn't a cult-like status about that distillery. If people love it, if people go, I need to get that code, I need to get this code, I think that's a bit unfair. So the proof on this one is 57.4. I'm not inclined to add any water to that. I don't think it needs it. I will give it a go. I'm doing this in the name of science. This is the job. I will try it. I've tasted it without water. I'm going to try just a small dash, just a out of my oh, there you go. There's a little out of my society water jug. They're online now, by the way. I don't think the nose needed it. I don't think the nose needed that water. But that's okay. I'm doing it. I'm doing it so you don't have to. Davis says, as long as the code is a number and no letters. Ooh, Davis, come on, man. You love the letter stuff. A, B, C, G, R, and RW. Am I missing one? GN. Good friends, GN. Yeah, A, B, C. Then we've got, G. And then we've got R and RW. I hope I'm not missing any. You'll let me know if I am. No, the letters are where some of the magic happens. And some of the B's we've had, amazing. I would hope not. Yeah, if you've got some of these say they're lovely little. They've got a fair bit of heft to them. That was the thing that amazed me. It's quite a thick glass bottom one. I like that. It's got a bit of a boom when you put it on the table. It's got a bit of heft to it. I like that. No, come on, Davis. You know you love the codes. The codes are great because the codes are also numbers. They're letters. They're interesting things that you can enjoy. And I know you've appreciated a few of the A casks in the past as well. So there you go. Yeah, it does. It's okay with water on the palate, but it ruins the nose. It didn't need it on the nose. It was nice and thick and luscious on the nose. 57 is kind of, to quote our global ambassador, John McShane, that's the sweet spot. He's quite fond of this as well. I am as well. I love whiskeys. A lot of whiskeys that I really love fall into that sort of like 53 to 58%, a lot of them. I find that's just that meaty middle point of proofs. Anything below 50 is perfectly fine as long as we're getting into some proper age. We've had some lovely old whiskies at the Society that have been 42 point something percent and 47.1% and things like that. That's great. And we've also had some lovely low proof A casks, some Armagnacs that we've had through. No, James, I'm not losing my mind. A, B, C, G. No, I know E comes next, right? Or D. We don't know anymore, do we? No, I'm just saying A, B, C, G, R, R, W, G, N. So I knew I was missing one. G, N. I always miss out on G, N. It's a newer code for us. I guess I'll get used to it. Thank you, Facebook user. A, B, C, G, R, G, N. There it is. For those playing along at home, those are our other spirit codes that you sometimes see. It's infrequent. They do come through, but it is infrequent. We see a few Armagnacs, bourbons, cognacs. That's the first 3 there. Grain whiskey, that's for our grains. That's whiskey, of course. They're grain whiskeys. They might be wheat. They might be corn, maize, rye. Not rye, sorry. But and then we've got GN for gins and rum, Arthur rum. So there we go. I missed one. Arthur rum. So single cask strength rums that we get through sometimes as well. Lots of fun. Lots of fun. All right. Time to move on to number 2. Now, October Outturn is tomorrow. I'm seeing a lot of hype around this next bottling, and I've not tasted it yet. I've tasted this 37 before. I presented it in Canberra. It went down a treat. If you wanted a bottle of that 37, I recommend cooking yourself something like a proper rich hoisin sauce duck, a proper like roast duck and potatoes and vegetables, and then pour a biggie of that. That's fantastic. It is like an old house in the country. Those notes of those potpourri, those old floorboards, mahogany, and the lingers. It just lingers. It's got such a long finish. This one, it's lovely. Bit of black tea in there. Yeah, it's lovely. It's just one of those things where you go, that's just the perfect gamey, meaty. It's sweet, but it's not saccharine sweet. It's not white sugar sweet. I didn't even mention really any sweet notes too much, but it's there. It's there. It's that beautiful, lovely Speyside sweetness that the spirit carries, but it doesn't. It's not that sort of. It's a pleasant dram. It's like it's jammy as well. A little bit of jamminess. Anyway, enough about that whiskey. Let's move on to 16.45 Womble Pie. There we go. Now, this is a young whiskey, but not that young, really. I mean, it's 6 years old. That's a long time for in anyone's language to wait till a cask mature. But we've had a string of 16s. We had a breakfast in a Highland Croft. I'm not going to remember the codes on all these. I'm sorry. We had an Acme Ghost Repellent before that. Some people remember some of these. In fact, I think the breakfast in a Highland Croft was only one code before this, 16.44. So we had a string of great 16s. Before I even pour this, let me put it this way. Keep a keen eye on the non-Isla peated stock that we've been getting. I love Isla peated whiskey. You know I do. I love my 29s. I love my 53s. There's not a single person I know that dislikes the 33s, even 3s. Codes like that, 127 that we see, haven't seen for a while, but we will see again, hopefully. Don't quote me on that. But even 23, which we had, one bottle of share around last year. So, with that said, and that all said and done, keep an eye even more so on the non-Isla peated whiskies coming out of Scotland, including this one, 16. We get some great 66s. I can smell that bottle from here. I'm going to pour it. That's the clean glass, isn't it? Yeah. I'm going to pour that now. Just a small dram of that because I can. This is potent stuff. Now let's just examine what this is for a second. Question: any insights into the 44? It's an old 44. It's a 20-year-old from memory, I think. I'm not even looking. I should look at the outturn whilst I say it, make those accusations. Yeah, it's a 20-year-old full maturation reefer Oloroso 44. I've not tasted it. We're reserving all of those for outturn. I don't get a chance to taste everything that comes into outturn. Neither does Andrew. We don't. Otherwise, we would be stuck with a lot of open bottles of things that members could have otherwise bought. You'll notice these aren't new bottles. These are leftovers from event stock. So I'm able to actually preview these and go, you know what? They'll open anyway, so let's enjoy them. But these, here we go. So we've got this. The 16 has got a bit of, like I said, a bit of a almost cult-like status to it at the moment with society members. They're starting to work out. They're starting to work out that, hello there, James Finnegan. Good to see you, mate. Members are starting to go, oh, wow. Some of the peated codes outside of the Isla codes, there's some bangers. There's some ripper whiskey in that line. And once you sort of get into that mindset of understanding that there's a lot going on there that will fascinate and astound, you get into some really crazy territory of flavor and exploration. And it's not inferior to Isla. It's not inferior to anything. To quote any whiskey as being better than the other is objectively is incorrect. That doesn't make sense. But you might say, hey, I love my 29s that are 20, 21, 22 years of age. Sure, so do I. But there's some incredible value and some incredible flavor to be had out of the casks that are performing differently from different regions, including the Highlands. And so we're going to have a Highland whiskey now. We're going to have a 16.45 Womble Pie for those playing along at home. So this distillery is a bit different entirely again. Oh, wow. If you had the opportunity to taste any of our recent 16s, Breakfast in a Highland Croft, Acme Ghost Repellent, if anyone jumped on any of those, this is in the same ballpark, but this has hit the ball right out of the park. Those were more like Breakfast in a Highland Croft was exactly what did exactly what it said on the tin. It was like a smoked ham breakfast in the morning in the Highlands. This is dialed up to 11. This is a crazy, crazy nose. Okay, mad concoction of farmyard, fishing dock, peat stack, fermenting tractors, strange muddy murk, gloopy peat oils, and raw meaty potency. It's distilled 10th of July 2013. It's a Highland whiskey. It's in the peated category, and it's from a recharred hogshead. I've talked on the stream before about recharred. about what it does. It's a rejuvenation technique. It's not quite STR. It's not quite HTMC. It's a different strategy altogether. It's just a rechar of a hogshead. It's a deep rechar, and it reactivates the wood in a huge way, and you can get a younger whiskey performing very well rather than relying on age of just a normal hogshead. So this probably would have been one of those whiskeys that would have gone 10 years of maturation, maybe 15, but instead is 6 in a rechar instead, and it's picked up all that complexity very much nicely. Very much nicely, sir. Yes, sir. Farmyard, just like that, like gloopy hay bales in the rain. Oh, it's so massive on the nose. I can't get over 66.3% as well. Now, I was just saying before how that 53 to 58% is often that cask strength sweet spot that I love in a whiskey, that really sort of like hearty middle point. Younger whiskey can often be a little bit higher proof because it hasn't had that time to have that angel share, that sort of that drop in proof. However, older whiskey can often be much lower in proof. This one is a young whiskey at a high proof that is, the whole office now smells like this whiskey. It's so complex as well. There's a lot going on there. It is a bonkers nose. I mean, and I mean that without any reservation. Absolutely. Gamey meats as well. Smoky, smoked cheese, like a smoked waxy cheese. I don't know how to describe what cheese that would be. I don't want to get my cheese names wrong. I'm sorry. Bit of mackerel, sardine, barbecue sauce. Like smoke. Like, has anyone here ever had any of those like Rufus barbecue sauce or there's, I think it's a Rufus barbecue. Anyway, there's these barbecue sauces that are like just straight up syrupy black sauce, and like the smoke emanates from the bottle when you open them. Oh, that's not fair. It's like sooty as well. Now, that's one of the things I find different, very different between the Isla peated whiskies and the mainland ones like this. You get that sooty, ashy note, and it's often a very, very clean smoke as well. So it's a soot, and it's an ash, and it's a lanolin. And I'm getting a bit of that lanolin on this one as well. I'm going to try it without water. But compare that to Isla whiskey, where you often get a much boggier peat, a much dirtier peat sometimes. Or at least a dirtier smoke sometimes. More of that sort of like muddy cigar sometimes, as I like to say, or the muddy cigar leaf. Whereas this case, I often get that rich, very creamy Highland smoke, which is it breathes well. Davis says, well, this is an open bottle, Davis. Has been open for about a week, I'd say, or less. No, not even a week. It's been open for a few days, this bottle. But I've let that open up in the glass. I've let that sit for now for a good 5-10 minutes almost. I like my peat dirty, someone says here. That is true. That is true. But you've got to be in the mood. It's a very much a mood thing. Opinions on the profiles between freshly opened bottles as opposed to an open bottle. I always found completely different offerings. I talked a little bit about this last week, about the neck pour, as I like to call it. I mean, the phrase always changes over time, but this is the idea that the first pour of the bottle is good, but it gets better after that. So it might need a bit of time to air. I've let that sit in the glass for a while. It's really opening up nicely actually now. I get more of that, what do you call it? Like smoky lanolin. I know I keep saying it, but if anyone knows that smell, that, and like tractor parts, like greasy tractor, it will transport you to a time and place that you didn't know existed. Honestly, it's one of those whiskeys. Wow. I remember writing in our Facebook group in a nice chat thread about how this wasn't his cup of tea. And I can see how this would be a polarizing whiskey. I like it. The oiliness carries through on the palate. I am going to add a fair chunk of water to this. I'm going to see what happens when you add a nice dash. Like I said, 66.3. It can probably afford a nice bit of water just to open that up a bit. Didn't go too heavy on the water, actually. Probably still sitting at like 60 or something crazy. It takes water well. Doesn't lose a thing. In fact, I go so far to the water has sweetened it up ever so slightly. It's got almost a bit of honey sweetness now. Manuka honey sweetness, just a tiny bit. Anyway, that is a lovely whiskey. It's a bonkers whiskey, truly mental stuff, that one. I mean, it is. It's a tiny bit of like, almost the tiniest bit of how do you like it's almost a bit, there's a tiniest with the water now on the finish. It's the tiniest bit of miso soup. And that's a weird tasting note. I don't get miso soup or any sort of like miso or soy derivatives of almost ever in a whiskey. But I do get it on this one. One to have and one to hold. Yeah, I mean, that's a good comment. I mean, it's a brutal brisk whiskey, but it's also it's changing a lot over time, and it's a lot of complexity behind that spirit. Amazing. You know what? I've just tried two very, very different whiskeys. I'm going to let the rest of that 16 sit for a while. See what happens with a bit of water and a bit more time. In the meantime, that's all I want to go over tonight. Just a quick chat about these two, 15 minutes on each, just to discuss a little bit of what's coming up in tomorrow's Outturn. If you're not already a member, there is still time to join before tomorrow's Outturn. You can join up tonight, and then you'll be in for tomorrow. That's great. Pardon me. Also, if you're already a member, make sure you're logged in. Don't, if you're messaging us at 12 o'clock saying, I can't find my password, work it out early. Susie's in the office tomorrow from 9, just like normal. I am from 9 as well. You can send me a message. You can send Susie an email, give her a call, however you like to get in touch. We like to be there for you at the society as much as we can at the moment. But like I said, things are starting to open up here and there around the country. And it's great seeing so many members being involved with what we're doing and being involved in the overall community of what the society is. And that's what I love about being a part of this whiskey club. It's the sense of camaraderie. It's the like-minded friends. And it's the amazing people you meet in the journey of flavor. So with that said and done, I really wish you a great Thursday night. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight for a live stream. If you missed Roundtable, it's on Whiskey Roundtable on our Facebook page. Otherwise, you can also watch it on the Society's Facebook page, and you can see bits of it on Instagram as well. And in the meantime, I will see you again for our next live stream, which shall be shortly. Have a great Outturn tomorrow, and I will see you all soon. Thank you so much. Cheers.